Guys, we got ourselves a rule book! Real briefly, there's 3 ways of making the CrossFit Games. We'll cover it real quickly. 1, you the fittest in your country, national champion. 2, you're top 20 in the open. 3, you win a sanctioned event. There is a 4th way of making it. It's like the redheaded stepchild. No one wants to talk about it. It's the 4 at-large bids to go to the CrossFit Games, but we're not going to talk about that. That's obviously a long shot to get that, and that could go to anybody. So I'm not going to even talk about it. So, for all you visual learners, let's jump in. First things first, we've got ourselves national champion and top 20. So the real question is, where does the priority lie and where does the invite to the CrossFit Games get extended to if you have both? The priority lies in the national champion, right? They want the athletes to retain that title and keep that title. That title will not trickle down to the next person. That title will stay with that person no matter if they decline it or not. So, the priority lies in the national champion when compared to top 20. So, therefore, the invite gets extended to the top 20. Meaning, if you are a national champion, meaning you're the fittest in your country, and you're also top 20, your invite, you'll be invited to the game based upon your national championship or the fittest in your country. Therefore, the next person in line for top 20 will be invited. The 21st person will be invited. Therefore, the orange line represents the extended invite, meaning we're going to +1 to the top 20. Next up is a sanctioned event, okay? And we're going to compare the sanctioned event to the national champion. So again, we ask ourselves, where does the priority lie and where does the invite get extended to? When comparing a sanctioned event and being a national champion, if you get both, okay, they won't occur at the same time, they'll be different times, of course. If you get both, the priority again lies in being the national champion, right? They want you to again retain that title. So the priority lies in the national champion, and your invite, if you get both, will be extended to the next person in line at the sanctioned event, okay? So if you go to a sanctioned event and take first place, and then become a national champion, your invite will be extended, therefore, to the second person in line in the sanctioned event, and given to them as an invite to the CrossFit Games. Next up, we're comparing a sanctioned event to the top 20. Where does the priority lie, and where does the invite get extended to? When comparing the top 20 in the sanctioned event, again, they won't occur at the same time. The priority lies in the top 20, and the invite will get extended to the sanctioned event. Okay, so if you take top 20 in the open and then go win a sanctioned event, just like the national championship, your invite will get extended to the second person in line for the sanctioned event. And of course, you can talk about these things chronologically also. If you do the sanctioned event before or after the open, the same concept applies. The last and final scenario is if you go off and compete in 2 sanctioned events and win both of them. Right? So we have another sanctioned event up here, okay? So where does the priority lie and where does your invite get extended to? So we're gonna write a little bit of extra here. We're gonna call this one sanctioned event first and call this sanctioned event second, okay? Chronologically, you did this one first and then you did this one second. I'm gonna keep the first down here because it makes sense because it's a part of this graph already. The priority comparing 2 sanctioned events, or 3 or 4 or so on, lies in the first one you did because that's the first one you won. So the priority will lie in the first sanctioned event, and the invite will then get extended into the second sanctioned event. So for instance, if you go off and win a sanctioned event in Britain for the strength and depth and take first place, you qualify to the games. And then if you go to a sanctioned event in Brazil later in the year and take first place, the second place person in line will receive the invite. You'll still get first place and win the money or win the notoriety, but the second place person will get that invite. And that's really it, ladies and gentlemen. That's a visual representation of the CrossFit 2019 CrossFit season and how you can qualify and get to the games. That's not all I wanted to talk about. Most of the guys have gone to the basics of it, and that's great. We just covered a visual representation of the basics, which I think is also very important. But what I think is really important is delving in a little bit deeper and discussing what your strategy should be going into the season. What sanctioned events should you choose, and how do you choose the right one based upon the new rules, right? Take these rules, apply them, and figure out what's the best one to go to in order to give yourself a higher probability of going to the games. It's already the beginning of January. We only have 3 sanctioned events to go until we hit the Open. The Open will be upon us before we know it. So I don't really want to discuss the 3 sanctioned events that are coming up. First of all, if you're going to them, you already know you're going to them. You don't have a choice. And you also don't have the choice of saying, I would like to go that one, because it's already been finalized. The roster's been finalized. So we're going to talk about sanctioned events after the Open and how you should take these rules, apply it to the Open, and then apply it to that sanctioned event to figure out who you're actually competing with. Because just because you show up to a sanctioned event doesn't mean you're competing with everyone in the sanctioned event who's there. So let's real briefly jump into an example. That's sometimes the best way to do things, right? So we've got a hypothetical sanctioned event, okay? Let's say it's sometime in April, okay? And therefore, it's after the Open, okay? So the Open's been finalized, we know who our national champions are, we know who our top 20 is, and so we're all good with that. Let's write down a roster. Let's say we've got Matt, we've got Mark, we've got Luke, I'm just gonna start naming biblical names. We've got John, we got Ezekiel, we got Ezariah. I totally spelled Ezariah wrong. Just get over it. So let's assume this is part of our roster going to a sanctioned event. This isn't everyone going. This is just maybe the 6 top people that are going to a sanctioned event that you think are threats going into the event in order to win. Now you take what you know from the Open, the rules that already came out, and you apply it to this roster. So you say, okay, well, Matt is actually maybe a national champion, right? So he's already going to the games, okay? Mark, he wasn't top 20 in the Open. He also didn't win his country. But Luke, he's top 20, okay? He's going to the games. Oh, Ezekiel, well, he already won a sanctioned event. He won a sanctioned event before the Open. He's just going there for kicks and giggles now. So he's already going to the games. He's got a bid. And Ezariah, well, he's also a national champion out of some random country in the middle of nowhere, okay? So now when you look at this, you think, okay, well, he's a national champion, he's top 20, he's won a sanctioned event, he's a national champion, and you think to yourself, I'm not really competing with these guys that already have a bid. Because if they already have a bid and they're at a sanctioned event, they won't take the sanctioned event spot from you. Now, they can still podium, and they can still win money, and they can still beat you, and they can still put scores in, but they can't take your bid from you because they already have a bid. Especially because national champion, again, is the priority and always takes priority over sanctioned events and top 20. Top 20 also takes priority over sanctioned event. Ezekiel won a sanctioned event, which we're at a sanctioned event, but this one was previous, so it takes priority. So in actuality, you're only competing with these guys right here for a bid to the games, right? And so, again, this is just a hypothetical list. This is only 6 dudes. But if you add, another 12, 14 to it, you can see that you may not be competing with everyone that goes there. Now, like I mentioned, Matt can still put a score in at the sanctioned event and still beat you and still take points on you and might still podium and take money, but he won't take the bid because he's already qualified. So now the real question is, taking this knowledge, how do you choose a sanctioned event to increase your probability of going to the games? Right? I believe there are 2 ways that really increase your chances of going to the games. Okay? Number 1 is you go to a very highly competitive competition or sanctioned event. Prime example, Dubai. I think when it's all said and done, the guy that will actually qualify out of Dubai from the sanctioned event and go to the games, like he'll win the bid from Dubai, will probably be past 5th place. 1, if Matt does the Open, he'll probably be top 20, and he'll probably also be a national champion. You've also got, Willie George is in there, who'll probably be the national champion for France and probably top 20 in the Open like he did last year. And you've got all these guys that will probably be either top 20 or a national championship of their country. So the bid will keep dropping until it meets someone that isn't a national champion and also isn't top 20 in the Open. So I think it'll probably drop till probably past 5th place. So it is beneficial to go to a highly competitive CrossFit competition where a lot of guys are going there for the money or whatever. That's number 1. Number 2 is go to a competition that is highly diversified by country. What I mean by that is don't go to a competition where everyone there is American. Chances are you might have the fittest in the United States, but probably not. So chances are you won't have any national champions there, right? So now you're only depending upon people who are top 20 in the Open to take spots away and to make it easier for you. So you should choose a competition where you're in a highly dense area of countries where people can travel there easily. Prime example, again, is Dubai. Or any competition is located out of Europe. Italian throwdown or showdown, whatever it's called. Strength in Depth is another example. Fittest in Cape Town is another example. These are great examples of a competition where there might be multiple national champions there who are the fittest in their country, who therefore have already qualified to the games but are just there to have a good time. Therefore, they're off the list, they won't take a bid away from you, and your chances of qualifying are that much higher. Sorry guys, my wife just walked in and is complaining how cold the barn is, therefore is turning on the heat, so you're gonna hear a loud noise right now and the audio is gonna be messed up. There's your noise. There goes my good audio. Real briefly, what we covered was the basics of how to qualify, how you can get there, and then 2 examples of ways that using the Open and using the rule book that we already know, how you can increase your chances of going to the games. 1, going to a highly competitive competition, or 2, going to a highly diverse competition where national champions will be there. Hope that helps, guys. Hope you appreciate it. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited to see what happens. It's going to be kind of probably a mess, but I'm stoked to see how it plays out. And anyways, we'll see. Thanks for watching, guys.